Hello, and welcome to this pre-recorded financial aid workshop. We are sorry that we're not able to be with you in person this year, but we want you to rest assured that we are still here to guide you and your family through the 22-23 financial aid process. My name is Nicole Bulk. I am the Director of Financial Aid Services for Baker College. COVID-19 has certainly changed the way in which we are able to engage with families who are completing the FAFSA and wanting to gain additional financial aid information. So we thought the best way to bring the information to you would be through this pre-recorded presentation. Even though I am not able to join you in person, please know that whether you are considering attending Baker College or some other institution, all of our financial aid professionals at Baker College are available to assist you with the completion of the FAFSA or general financial aid questions. We can be reached via email at financialaid@baker.edu or phone at 989-729-3911. During this presentation, I will cover a FAFSA overview, how to get a FSA ID and what it's used for, specifics on completing the FAFSA, and a general overview of financial aid. Let's first talk about what exactly the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, is. The FAFSA is a tool typically completed online at STUDENTAID.GOV that collects demographic and financial information used to determine a student's eligibility for financial aid. When completing the FAFSA, the student lists which colleges they want the results released to. Up to 10 colleges can be listed on the FAFSA. One important tip to remember is that the first school listed on the FAFSA is where the state of Michigan is planning to send any state funding, if you are considering attending an in-state college. If you end up not attending that college, be sure to update your college choice with the state of Michigan via their My SSG portal. Demographic information such as legal name, social security number, address, and date of birth will be requested for both student and parent, if applicable. Later in this presentation, we will cover when parental information is needed on the FAFSA. In addition to demographic information, 2020 tax information will be used to complete the 22-23 FAFSA. There are some general eligibility requirements that must be met in order for a student to be eligible for financial aid. Students must be U.S. citizens or permanent residents. Students must have completed high school or obtained a GED, and students cannot be in default on federal student loans. Regardless of income, all students meeting the eligibility criteria will qualify for some form of financial aid, which includes grants and loans. Therefore, we recommend everyone complete the FAFSA. Also, the FAFSA is an annual application, so you will need to complete it every year while attending college. Upon submission of the FAFSA, an expected family contribution, or EFC, is calculated. The EFC is a result of a formula that the federal government uses to determine a family's ability to pay. The EFC will remain the same at all schools and will be used to determine how much need-based versus non-need-based aid will be offered to a student. While many people think of need-based aid as just the Pell Grant program, that is not true. The amount of need-based aid that a person could qualify for varies based on the school's cost of attendance. Other forms of need-based aid include some state grants, work study, and subsidized loans. We'll discuss each of these in more depth. Ultimately, the schools will use the EFC from the FAFSA to determine what types of financial aid they can offer to a student. When I introduced the FAFSA to you, the first word I used was free. You will never pay to complete the FAFSA. Please be sure to use the STUDENTAID.GOV website. Clicking on Apply for Aid, complete the FAFSA form. If you are on a site and it's asking for payment, you are on the wrong site to submit the FAFSA. The FAFSA must be submitted every year, beginning on October 1st for the upcoming school year. So 2022 seniors, Now is the time to do your FAFSA for the 22-23 academic year. As I previously mentioned, the 22-23 FAFSA uses 2020 income information, so there is no reason to wait to complete the FAFSA. Some forms of financial aid are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. Get the FAFSA done right away. Okay, let's dive a little more deeply into actually completing the FAFSA application. One of the most important items that will be needed to complete the FAFSA is the Federal Student Aid ID, or FSA ID. Both the student and one parent, if dependent, will need an FSA ID. Parents, if you already have a FSA ID that you've used to complete the FAFSA for yourself or another child, you do not need to create a new one. The FSA ID you already have assigned to you will work. If the student and or parent doesn't have a FSA ID, please create one right away at STUDENTAID.GOV. Create account. Please keep in mind that the FSA ID is the signature associated with the person's information entered to create the ID. Do not create the ID for someone else. Students should create their ID, and a parent will create a separate ID for themselves. Provide answers to the verification questions that you will remember should you ever forget your FSA ID and need to recover it. When submitting for the FSA ID, make sure you correctly enter your Social Security number, name, and date of birth. These must match what is on your Social Security card. If one of these data elements don't match, it could mean the ID becomes invalidated. Additionally, each FSA ID must have a unique email address. Do not use a temporary email, such as your high school email address. Link the FSA ID to a permanent email address. Finally, don't forget your FSA ID. This is the only account you will ever create and will be used from your first FAFSA submission through loan repayment. Unlike other websites, you will never be able to create a second account because your FSA ID is linked to your Social Security number. Creating a FSA ID requires the creation of a username and password. When you begin creating the username and password, avoid using personal identifiers. For example, first name, last name, or date of birth. The username must be 6 to 30 characters long. You can use any combination of numbers and or letters. The username is not case sensitive. Your password must be 8 to 30 characters long and contain one or more numbers, one or more uppercase letters, and one or more lowercase letters. Your password is case sensitive. Choose a username and password that you can remember, but that would be hard for others to guess. Having the FSA ID prior to completing the FAFSA will save you both time and frustration. Get your FSA ID today. Before we start talking about the mechanics of the FAFSA application, I do want to mention that there are two methods that can be used to complete the FAFSA. There is a mobile app called My Student Aid, and there is the STUDENTAID.GOV website. As I present today, I'm going to be describing the STUDENTAID.GOV option. Keep in mind, though, that even if you use the STUDENTAID.GOV site, you can still download the My Student Aid app, as it is a tool that does more than just the FAFSA submission. It's also a way to keep tabs on federal student aid updates, loan borrowing, and repayment information. Okay, so you have your FSA ID and you're on STUDENTAID.GOV. If the student has never completed a FAFSA before, they will use the New to the FAFSA Process option. Once an application has been started, and for all subsequent years, the Returning User option is what will be used to access FAFSA information. 2022 graduating seniors, please be sure to complete the FAFSA for the 22-23 academic year if you will be starting college in fall 2022. One thing to point out before we dive deeper into filling out the FAFSA is that every FAFSA user's experience is going to be slightly different. The FAFSA has skip logic built in and only asks you questions that pertain to your family's situation. Each answer you provide determines the future questions that you will need to answer. Throughout the FAFSA filing experience, you will see question marks. If you click on the question mark, additional text will be provided to help you with answering the question. The information provided is very useful, so I would suggest clicking those question marks whenever you are in need of assistance. In order for schools to determine what financial aid you may qualify for, they need to have access to your FAFSA information. You determine which schools receive that information by adding them to your FAFSA. Every school has a federal school code. Baker College's school code is 004673. You can list up to 10 schools on your FAFSA with the initial submission, but we recommend only listing those schools that you have a genuine interest in attending. If you change your mind, you can always correct your FAFSA to add school codes. A common question we get when students are applying for aid is whether or not they need to include parental information on the FAFSA. There are 13 questions on the FAFSA that determine whether a student is dependent or independent. If the student can answer yes to any one of those questions, they are independent. On this slide, I'm highlighting the 6 most common ways in which a student can be independent and not need to include parental information. You will notice this slide does not ask whether or not the student is living on their own or self-supporting. Typically, students are considered dependent and need to include parental information until they are 24 years old, married, or are supporting a dependent more than 50%. There can be other unique situations that may warrant an otherwise dependent student to be determined to be independent. If there is documented abuse or neglect, financial aid offices can use professional judgment to perform a dependency override. If you are unable to answer yes to any of the dependency questions and have a unique situation, contact the financial aid office at the college you plan to attend. The next most common question we get when families are trying to complete the FAFSA is which parent's information to use. The answer is you will include demographic and tax information for the parent or parents with whom the student lived with the majority of the time in the 12 months leading up to completing the FAFSA. If that biological or adoptive parent is remarried, the step parent's information must also be included. Only biological or adoptive parent, and in the case of remarriage, the step parent, information can be used on the FAFSA. Students should never include information for grandparents, legal guardians, or a family friend with whom they may be living. We typically also get a few follow-up questions when we present this information. The first is, but what if I don't live with either parent, but I know I'm dependent? The answer is, then you would include the parental information for the parent who provided you with the most support. If you received no support, it is the parent with whom you would provide you support. We also get the question, what if my parents live together but aren't married? In this case, if both parents are your legal parent, you would provide information for both of them. One of the first questions as you begin the FAFSA will be determining how many people are in your household. While this may seem like an easy question to answer, oftentimes families forget to include older children who are in college when they determine their household size. Be sure to include everyone that meets the criteria on this slide when you complete the FAFSA. Okay, now that we figured out whose information should go on the FAFSA, let's talk about income information. Remember earlier how I explained that the FAFSA has skip logic built in? That it is important because some families may be asked to provide both student and parent income information, while others will only be asked for parent information. There may also be times where you are instructed that you can skip questions. If you are presented with the option to skip questions, feel free to do so. Entering information on those questions will have no impact on your EFC. In many cases, You will not need to manually enter 2020 tax information on the FAFSA. The FAFSA has a tool called IRS Data Retrieval, or DRT. If it is determined that you and/or your parent is eligible for IRS DRT, use it. IRS DRT retrieves 2020 tax information and transfers the information to the FAFSA. Using DRT could save future frustrations of having to supply tax information should the student's file be selected for verification. There are some situations when a student and/or parent will not be able to use the IRS DRT functionality. A few examples include a change in marital status between when the 2020 taxes were filed and when the FAFSA is being submitted, or unmarried but living together parents who each file a separate tax return. A common question we typically get at this point is, what if I had income but wasn't required to file taxes? If you had income from work but were not required to file taxes, you will be asked to enter your income from work on the FAFSA. One final area where we get the most questions when families are trying to complete the FAFSA is about assets. Keep in mind, some families may not even get asked about assets. That is because the FAFSA has skip logic built in that determines whether or not assets are going to change the EFC based on other income and household information that has already been entered. Some families will receive a question that asks if you have assets that exceed a certain dollar threshold for both student and parent. Knowing all of this, let's talk about what an asset is for FAFSA purposes. Remember, answer the questions as they are presented. Report answers individually for both the student and parent. The first one should be easy. How much is in cash, checking, and savings accounts? The second question about investments often leads to questions for families. So let's talk about what to include first. You would include real estate that is not the home that you live in. So rental properties would be an investment. Other investments include trust funds, UGMAs, UPMAs, money market funds, mutual funds, CDs, stocks, stock option, bonds, or other securities, installment and land sale contracts, and commodities. 529 college savings plans also get reported, but who owns the fund determines how it gets reported. Be sure to read the student investment and parent investment links for more details. Also, keep in mind that you report the net worth of these investments. So if you have a rental property that has a value of $100,000, but there is a mortgage of $90,000, then the net worth is only $10,000. Let me also clear up what is not an investment. Your primary residence that you live in is not an investment that needs to be reported. You also do not need to include the value of life insurance, retirement plans such as 401ks and 403bs, pension funds, annuities, non-education IRAs, or KEO plans. I want to make sure I am clear that you do not include your primary residence or retirement and pension funds. Moving to the final asset question about businesses and investment farms, the term investment farm does not include the value of a family farm that you or your parents live on and operate. Additionally, a small business that your family owns and controls more than 50% of and has fewer than 100 full-time or full-time equivalent employees is not included as an asset for FAFSA purposes. If you have an investment farm or business that does not meet these definitions, please review the FAFSA for more instructions on determining net worth. You did it. The FAFSA has been completed. Give yourself a fist bump. But remember, you're likely not done with the financial aid process. Be sure to review your student aid report or SAR, which you should receive via email once the FAFSA is submitted. If there is a problem or you need to make a correction, return to STUDENTAID.GOV to make any necessary updates. Additionally, your schools may ask for more information. 30% of all applicants are selected for verification and need to turn in additional information to substantiate what was reported on the FAFSA. Be sure you know how your college is going to communicate with you, whether it be your personal email, your assigned college email address, a portal, or via postal mail. At Baker College, we communicate via a college-assigned email address, a portal, and via postal mail. The one thing you want to be sure is how you're going to get your financial aid offer. The financial aid offer will tell you what types of financial aid you may qualify for at each of the schools where you sent your FAFSA results. Again, you will want to know how the school is going to communicate with you and what you need to do once the financial aid offer is received. Schools handle financial aid funds differently. For example, Baker College gives students the option to accept, decline, or ask for a reduction in student loan amounts. Some schools may award work study as part of an aid package and expect the student to find on-campus employment as a way to pay their tuition. The point here is to make sure you understand the financial aid offer and to ask questions if you don't. One final point to make is that we understand family situations change, and job loss has been and continues to be a very real thing. If your family's income has significantly changed since 2020, please talk with your financial aid office. We have the ability to perform professional judgment and can change FAFSA data elements to better reflect your family's current ability to pay. Okay, now I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I've used a lot of terms as we have talked about the FAFSA, and I want to make sure we all have a clear understanding of what exactly falls under financial aid. Financial aid is often thought of as just free money. However, when we talk about financial aid, we are talking about free money such as grants and scholarships, but we are also talking about work study and loans. I will talk in more detail about federal and state aid on the next few screens, but I want to point out here that many schools use the FAFSA information to determine eligibility for institutional scholarships. This is another reason why you want to complete the FAFSA and complete it early. Be sure to talk with the colleges you are considering attending about how scholarships are awarded. Schools have different processes and deadlines. When many people think of the term financial aid, they think of free money, grants specifically. There are several different grants available through the FAFSA application. The largest grant program is the federal Pell Grant. The federal Pell Grant uses a sliding scale based on an individual's EFC. For the 21-22 academic year, the EFC range for Pell Grant was 0 to 5,846. The closer to 0, the larger the amount of Pell. The maximum federal Pell Grant award in 21-22 was $6,495 for the academic year. In addition to the federal Pell Grant, there is also the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, or FSEOG. FSEOG is designed to supplement the financial need of the lowest EFCs. Each college establishes policies for awarding FSEOG, so the amount you receive at one college may differ from another. The state of Michigan also has a grant program called the Michigan Tuition Grant. The Michigan Tuition Grant, or MTG, is only available at private colleges such as Baker College. MTG is awarded to Michigan residents who complete a FAFSA by March 1st and are attending a private college in the state of Michigan. MTG has a much higher EFC tolerance than the federal Pell Grant programs. While MTG is always dependent upon the state's budget, we are anticipating an award of $2,800 for each eligible student for the 2021-2022 academic year. The state of Michigan also funds the Tuition Incentive Program, or TIP. Students gain eligibility based on Medicaid eligibility. For more information on TIP, visit the michigan.gov/mystudentaid website. It is important to note that TIP eligible students must certify eligibility prior to their high school graduation. One final thing to note about the state of Michigan's grant programs is that the funds will be sent to the first school listed on the FAFSA. If you end up not attending that school, it's important for you to update your college on MySSG. Another source of free money that families often want more information about are scholarships. Let me first say that your high school guidance counselor and your local community organizations are the best place right now to look for scholarship opportunities. Additionally, Most colleges offer scholarships to students based on different qualifications. For example, at Baker College, we have some outstanding scholarship opportunities. For high school seniors, they range from the Presidential Scholarship, which covers your full tuition for 4 years, to the Dean Scholarship, which covers up to $4,500 per year. Please be talking with the colleges you are considering to see what type of scholarship opportunities they have available and what needs to be done in order for you to receive those scholarships. Be sure to start those conversations now, as some have deadlines, early deadlines that must be met. For example, our Presidential Scholarship has a December 15th deadline. One scholarship opportunity that is available from the state of Michigan is the Michigan Competitive Scholarship, or MCS. In order to qualify for MCS, the student must complete the FAFSA by March 1st. MCS does have both a merit and need component. Additionally, to qualify, the student and their parent, if dependent, must be a Michigan resident and attending a college in the state of Michigan. We are anticipating the 21-22 MCS award to be $1,000 for the academic year. As I already mentioned, your local organizations are a great place to research to start your scholarship search. Keep in mind that some scholarships have very early application deadlines. These deadlines could be as early as your sophomore or junior year in high school. Don't be afraid to apply for scholarships, even if you think you remotely qualify. You never know when luck might be on your side and you win that scholarship. In addition to local area scholarships, we also encourage families to talk with employers about scholarship opportunities or tuition reimbursement programs. Have you ever looked at McDonald's tuition assistance program? If not, check it out. It's pretty generous. This is just an example of work, even part-time work, that may have added benefits. There are also many search engines that will help you identify scholarship opportunities. The one thing I would caution is that you should never have to pay to find a scholarship. Good luck in your scholarship search. Shifting gears, I want to take a minute or two to talk about work study. Work study is a form of financial aid that is earned from working either an on-campus or off-campus job. Sometimes work study is referred to as self-help aid because you are paid an hourly rate, just as you would be at any other job. Those earnings are then either paid to you via a paycheck or they get applied towards your balance at the college. In order to qualify for work study, the student must be attending classes, except during periods of non-enrollment. Federal work study also requires that the student have need based on the FAFSA application. If the college offers institutional work study, that may be more flexible and not require the need component. Colleges all handle work study differently. Some award it expecting the student to find a job via their job postings. Others don't award it, but post jobs if the student is interested. They determine if they are eligible. If interested in work study, be sure to understand how the college handles the process. Work study is a great way to gain work experience. Typically, students enter into these positions with the employer having the understanding that they need to work around the student's schedule. Work study is a great way to make connections, build a reference list, earn money, and learn life skills. I was a work study for 3 out of my 4 years of college. Funny enough, I was a work study in the financial aid department at Saginaw Valley State University. Never did I know that I would build a career around financial aid. I loved my work study experience, and I would encourage every student to check out the work study program at the school they are attending. We've now talked about grants, scholarships, and work study. Let's take a few minutes to also discuss student loans. We always like to start this section by advising that loans should be a last resort option. Explore all other options, including payment plans, before turning to loans. The less debt that you can incur, the better. That being said, the Federal Direct Stafford Loan Program is a nice program for those who need to borrow. Students who borrow are building credit on debt that doesn't need to be repaid right away. The Federal Direct Stafford Loan Programs offers 2 types of loans to student borrowers. The FAFSA is what makes students eligible to borrow the federal direct loans, so long as they meet the other eligibility criteria. With both types of loans, the student is the borrower. No cosigner or credit is needed. Repayment on both loan types begins 6 months after graduation or the student stops attending at least half time. The federal direct subsidized loan is based on having financial need, which the EFC helps to determine. Subsidized loans are interest-free while the student is in school. The federal direct unsubsidized loans are not dependent upon need. Unsubsidized loans accrue interest while the student is in school. While it is not required that the interest be paid, we do recommend paying the interest while in school, if able, to keep debt as minimal as possible. While the interest rate on these loans are fixed each year, they do change yearly based on the Treasury bill. The interest rates for the 21-22 academic year is 3.73%. The amount of money that a student can borrow is capped each academic year. As you can see from this slide, dependent freshmen are capped at $5,500 for the year. That dollar amount does increase slightly as the student progresses through their education. In total, a dependent student can borrow no more than $31,000. If the amount the student can borrow is not enough to cover costs, there are private loan options available through lenders. Oftentimes, the private loans do require cosigners. There are many different private loan lenders who all offer different loan products. Be sure to do your research before deciding on private loans. There's one final federal loan option that is available to help cover college costs. This option is called the Federal Direct ParentPLUS loan. The key word for this loan is the word parent. The ParentPLUS loan is a loan that the parent, not the student, is responsible for repaying. The PLUS loan is credit-based, but parents are typically only denied if they have a poor credit history. Income and debt are not a consideration in the PLUS loan approval process. The amount the parent can borrow is dependent on the school's cost of attendance and other aid that the student has received. Repayment of a PLUS loan does begin while the student is still in college, but the parent could defer those payments until graduation or the student stops attending at least half time. The parent would need to work with the lender to defer payments. If the option to defer payments is selected, we do still encourage the parent to pay the interest while the student is in college. In 21-22, ParentPLUS loans have an interest rate of 6.28%. Schools have different ParentPLUS loan processes. If you need to borrow a PLUS loan, be sure to consult with the school on their process. Many schools direct students to STUDENTAID.GOV to apply for ParentPLUS loans. We've covered a great deal of information in our presentation. Some of you may still be wondering how much college is going to cost and exactly how you're going to pay for it. Let me first say, we understand. Investing in higher education is just that, an investment, but it can be the best investment for your future. Every school has a net price calculator that can help you understand how much attending their school is going to cost and may even give you an estimate of the amount of financial aid you could receive. Take a look at our net price calculator. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at Baker College's affordability. This is an example of the results screen from our net price calculator. For this example, the student indicated that they will live at home with their parents and they have a 3.5 high school GPA. You will see that the direct costs are $12,338. Direct costs represent the estimated amount that the school will charge. In this case, the only charge is tuition and fees. Below that, you will see additional costs listed. These are not charges paid to Baker College. The books and supplies are an estimated amount and would need to be paid to Barnes & Noble or another bookstore you select. Since the student is not living in campus housing, you may wonder what the room and board and other expenses are. These are simply estimates of your cost of living expenses. They are not additional costs that you will have in order to attend college. In this student's case, the added cost for college is $13,338. I want to share this so that you realize that when reviewing the cost of attendance information from any college, remember to read the fine print in order to determine what is a cost charged by the school and what is not. The screen on the right shows the amount of financial aid that you may qualify for. In this case, the grants and scholarships come to $13,338. In other words, this student will have no added costs because the $13,338 in tuition, fees, and books is completely covered by grants and scholarships. This student also has eligibility for loans and work study, which can help to offset some of the living expenses. Again, I highly recommend that you check the net price calculator for any school you plan to attend. Of course, we will always encourage you to check ours at baker.studentaidcalculator.com. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation and think about financial aid in the FAFSA. Please remember, regardless of where you are considering going to school, we are here to help you. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us should you have specific questions when completing the FAFSA or general questions about financial aid. Best of luck as you venture into the next phase of life. Thank you.